How you doing, guys? My name is Rich Janowski. I'm giving a presentation on responsibilities of citizens during the time of disaster. According to Haddo, Bullock, and Coppola, a disaster is an event that exceeds the emergency response and recovery capabilities and resources of the agencies and officials responsible for its management in one or more critical area of response and recovery. As you can see from the slide, there's many facets in which natural disasters and man-made disasters can occur. They can be major, from floods, cyclones, droughts, earthquakes, to epidemics, deforestation, pollution, or wars, and as minor as a cold wave, a heat wave, thunderstorm, mudslide, or a road accident, riots, food poisoning, or industrial disasters. The disasters that were discussed in a previous slide are large in nature. However, disasters don't necessarily have to be that large in nature. All they have to do is exceed the emergency response and recovery capabilities. Consider you have a pet bird named Tweet. Tweet sees the open window and decides to fly for freedom. Now, since Tweet can fly, that is going to exceed your emergency recovery capabilities. And also your emergency response capabilities, considering all you can do is yell for Tweet, and not necessarily he's going to come back or not. Your local community deals with disasters on a daily basis. When a community needs to dispatch its local firefighters, medical technicians, and police officers, it is most commonly for a disaster. Whether this disaster is a house fire, an old woman that fell in the street, a tree limb that's down, or anything along those lines, that your community has a systematic approach on how to deal with this disaster. This systematic approach needs to be tied into how you as an individual prepare for disasters. The first responsibility of the individual is to understand what could happen. The definition of could be a hypothetical situation, or it could be an occurrence that has happened in the past that has the possibility of reoccurring in the future. For instance, if you lived in the dry Midwest, the middle of the summer, and the heat index is well over 100, and all of a sudden you lose power. Now your AC is turned off, your house is starting to get hot, your refrigerator is not working, the ice in the freezer is starting to melt, and your water is becoming warm. How would you deal with this situation? This is something that needs to be planned for. For instance, if you lived in Northern California and there was an earthquake, and the earthquake triggered a tsunami, are you prepared? The second major responsibility is securing your finances. Now, I'm not saying dig a hole 4 paces from the doghouse, then take it right at the tree, and take one hop and bury your savings. There are many types of insurances that will cover the aspects of disasters. As a renter who lived on the coast, I personally made the assessment and ensured that I was covered with floods as the water was right across the street. The critical aspect while purchasing home insurance is understanding the hazard-specific instructions. According to Donald Kettle in his book A System Under Stress, he explains that in New Orleans, the majority of those residents in the floodplains purchased flood insurance. The tragedy is that the majority of the flooding occurred in non-defined floodplains. Also, many residents complained that they had purchased insurance for hurricanes. However, the insurance companies argued that the damage was caused by floods. This is why ensuring the specific hazard insurance purchased is capable of covering the necessary damages is important and critical in the aspect. The next step of responsibility is within the prevention systems. As Liddell pointed out in a previous reading, receiver demographics are correlated with access to sources, channels, as well as with message comprehension. It is also important to understand which demographic you fall in. Understanding the warning systems and their method of message deployment is an important preparation tool. Regardless if you are black, white, Hispanic, rich, poor, single, or married, your demographic may change in a matter of seconds. Hurricane Andrew altered many citizens' demographics within seconds. As the storm approached, citizens could watch TV and listen to radio to receive the latest storm news. But when the storm hit, It destroyed the power grid and it placed all the affected citizens in the same powerless demographic. Through a basic understanding of the warning systems, these citizens would be able to still receive news updates, just in a powerless method. One of the most important responsibilities is the preparations and rehearsals. Preparations are often ingrained in your brain at an early age. How many of you remember being seated in the back of the bus in case of an emergency? Your responsibilities included opening the emergency exit, exiting first, and then remaining at the door to assist in the safe exit of all other students. By placing specific students near the emergency exits, it was a form of preparation that was taken by the bus driver. Just as on the bus, preparations at home need to be made. I'm not saying get all crazy like this little silo here, but all you really need is the basics. Enough food to last for 3 days, and certain supplies that can last over time. Batteries, flashlights, first aid kits are some of the things that could be included in there. Rehearsals are just as important as preparations when it comes to disasters. Even in elementary school, you still conducted fire drills in order to understand how to evacuate buildings. When you're at home, these same plans and same concepts need to be applied so everybody understands the methods. The same thing happens on large scales when large disasters occur in specific cities or states or regions. Ultimately, it is your responsibility to ensure that the steps necessary to prepare for a disaster are executed. It is your family's safety and your property that is at risk. Insurance companies, local authorities, and federal authorities will be there to assist. However, a specific timeline is unable to be adhered to due to the disaster itself. When called upon, it is your responsibility to prepare.